We got to talk about the news you can use, man. This is really going to affect you guys. Fauci, he wants to, he says no parties. No parties. You can't do New Year's Eve parties. I'll tell you what, I'm having a New Year's Eve party.
Yes.
Well, we're gonna fry up some steak. We're going to have some Trump champagne. And then we're going to go hit up the casino because they're doing a big countdown. And they got the new Barstool Sports thing, I think, is officially open.
Oh, sweet.
Awesome. It looks so amazing. They got wings and beer. It is going to be so much fun. But Airbnb vows to crack down on New Year's Eve parties. Quote, as we build upon the party ban and continue to protect our community during this unprecedented time, certain holidays such as New Year's Eve attract higher risks of unauthorized or disruptive parties. That's why we're introducing new products and policies to crack down on disruptive New Year's Eve parties, helping to protect our hosts and minimizing neighborhood disruption. The short-term vacation rental platform announced in a press release on Tuesday. The anchor of this plan is a ban on one-night NYE bookings and entire home listings for guests with a history of positive reviews. All right, well, Airbnb, no parties.
Here's
Fauci,
the issue.
no parties.
There's Verbo. Go somewhere else. You know, we have Verbo. It's a great little process here. If you don't like what Airbnb is doing, so is this all in the name of COVID, or is just to avoid messing up neighborhoods?
I think it's to avoid messing up people's homes, because when you have parties at people's homes, I mean, you obviously destroy the property that people rent, and this could be the major factor in there, because, you know, if I'm renting a property to someone, it's for them to use it like a hotel, not like a club. Yeah,
so COVID, I think, could be the scapegoat. Because as someone who's looking into some property in Vegas, for example, I'd want to stay away from. I'd actually block that night out. So I think it's a way for them to protect their properties. If I look at it this way, I think COVID is just the scapegoat, as it is with every customer service issue I've ever had since 2020. Hey man, I got this shirt and it's missing 2 buttons. Well, you know, COVID. How the hell is that COVID? You know, it's at the end of the day,
everything, man.
I think it could be a scapegoat.
We got a super chat from someone, you know, I see it in passing, where they mentioned as a flight attendant, they were saying most people they know don't have COVID, but they're reporting the reason all the flights are getting shut down and canceled is because people are calling in sick with COVID due to the surge. Sounds like, at least from this one employee in their bubble, it's people just calling out using COVID as an excuse. They said when we claim we're sick with COVID, we don't get in trouble.
Really?
There's a meme going around showing a test and someone drawing in the lines saying, this is how I make sure I don't work on New Year's Eve. And there might be some of that. There might be people faking their tests or just saying, hey, I'm sick here because they don't feel like working. As of course, that's been the overall trend for this year. A lot of people saying, I just don't want to work. I don't want to work for a company and make dollars that are going to be absolutely worthless as their value keeps declining almost every single day.
I see all these photos and videos of Democrats, for the most part, not wearing masks. Now, look, there are Republicans who don't wear masks too, but they're the ones who come out ragging on masks and mask mandates. So I'm like, okay, well, that's in line with what they've been saying. When you see these Democrats come out like Whitmer, like Newsom, like Pelosi, like even Fauci at that baseball game where his mask turned down. And I'm like, these are the ones who are coming out claiming we need this. How much you want to bet they didn't get vaccinated either?
You know
no
what?
Joke. I think that might be vaccinated.
It's weird because that's like me, you know, doing my whole health and fitness IFBB Pro thing and coming out and them having that. Remember that video of Arnold like topless and it was really a mess? It's like, oh my God, what happened to Arnold? It's hypocrisy. Like
before the show, Mark was eating a big thing of nacho cheese.
Yeah, it's
just like
I was eating
ice
like
cream.
Remember Winnie the Pooh with the honey, just spoon feeding it with my friggin' hand.
Oh, geez.
By the way, I would like to say I've gone an hour without saying a curse word.
Woo! It's a record.
Oh yeah.
You spent time with me today. You know.
Yeah, wow. We got it all out earlier.
Well, don't worry. In the members only segment, you'll just erupt in
wait till you see my fans only page.
Oh my gosh.
litany of curses.
Hey, you got to make money, man. So
True that.
yeah, I got to make up for the Kroger thing, so I'm doing an OnlyFans page.
Nice.
Oh, yeah.
Nice. Please don't.
So what were we talking about?
We're talking about we were talking about Airbnb cracking down, and then I said I think Democrats are faking. They're lying about getting vaccinated.
I absolutely think there's a lot of people not getting it who say they are getting it. I know personally people who have doctor friends who give the injection to an imaginary spot next to their shoulder. I know multiple people doing that. Look, when you start mandating things, you get people faking things when they don't want it. You get counterfeits, and these are real cards. They're just not getting the needle in the arm.
I just think if there are Democrats who are going to go on TV and be like, everyone's got to wear a mask, and then they don't.
It's horrible.
I also think the same kind of people are going to be like, everyone's got to get vaccinated, and then don't. You know?
Well, ethics and hypocrisy, you can't. Once you cross a certain ethical line, you've crossed that line. So it becomes your norm. So that's why you have to have those lines you don't cross. So once you start lying about one thing, I tell this to my kids all the time, if you're lying about masks, you're doing something else, then you can be like, well, I could do this against this too.
Yeah.
Or I could do this about this too. And that's why I'm always one of those practice what you preach. If you don't believe it, don't say it kind of guys. Unfortunately, politicians are not the cream of the crop. You know what the cream of the crop is? Us. We're in the private sector. We're building businesses. We're employing people. And we probably have higher than average IQs. The people in Washington, D.C. in politics, they're complete morons. Have you ever talked to these people? They're dumb.
Have you seen, there's a DCist put out a tweet. I don't know if you guys saw it.
Oh, yeah.
And it said, this is what DC will look like if global warming stays on this path. And it showed DC flooded. And my response was, I'm not sure if this is pro-global warming or anti-global warming. Yeah, just, I'll leave it there.
These people aren't, that's why I'm like, when I see these, well, they're Pelosi and Biden are concerned. I'm like, dude, these people are dumb. Like, they're not the smartest people. If you've ever seen the movie by Chris Bell, Bigger, Stronger, Faster, there was a guy, I think it was Waxman, who was a senator or a congressman in California who voted for the Steroid Act, whatever, to make them illegal. And they asked him what steroids were or something. And he had no clue what he voted for.
Let's talk
He
Second
didn't even
Amendment.
Look into that. Oh, God. And so these people, there are people who read into it, like Marjorie Taylor Greene. She believes what she's saying, and she's well educated and versed on what she's doing. Thomas Massey, that's the guy right there. Rand Paul as well. These are smart people. But you look at a lot of these people, like, they don't even show up for votes. They had that one, MTG called him out. Marjorie Taylor Greene called him out. Where my own senator from Tennessee didn't show up to a vote on justices, I believe it was. And it was horrible. And I'm like, oh, nobody from Tennessee is going to be on that list. And then there was a senator that I really, really like who no showed to vote. Your job is to vote. You don't even work that much.
Yeah.
Go vote.
How many
Instead,
months are they in session? It's like they're out most of the year and then they show up for a little bit.
It's disgusting. It's disgusting the way this has gone. And we just have a bunch of weak people who are funded by a bunch of really rich people making the laws. And people like us, like I was explaining earlier, I'm not going to run for office. I can't handle that.
Yeah.
Because I'll be punching people on the floor and I will never make it past an election campaign. I won't make it. I'm not built for that. Instead, I'm going to affect the local level. I'm going to coach kids. But the smart people are out there like Elon Musk. You don't think that man can run a country? Like, he's sending people to space. He's building generators. Like, okay.
I think you need decentralized power.
I
think Elon
arguing.
Musk can send people to space. I think he can make an electric car, but I don't know about telling people, like, effective policy.
He's
Can
also
he do
working
better
on
than
brain
Nancy
chips.
Pelosi, though?
Yeah, no, he could, for sure.
I mean, look, man, my 8-year-old son can do better than these idiots in office right now.
Well, it's because they're self-interested.
Yes.
If you could take, some local custodian, as long as he's interested in doing the right thing for his neighbors and the country, he would do an infinitely better job than any one of these politicians.
Absolutely correct.
You've got a small handful out of the hundreds of members of Congress, a small handful. You got like Rand Paul, Thomas Massey, that like people who actually believe what they're doing and look into these things and actually stand up. Most of them. It's really funny when I'm reading about members of Congress and I'm like, I have no idea who that is. It's like, oh, someone's being criticized for not doing their job. Like, who are these people? How are they even on any party? They don't do anything.
Sociopaths. There's a reason the most amount of sociopaths per capita are in Washington, D.C. And I want to go back to your original kind of point here, talking about how 25% of the cases are from New York. As according to the latest Google statistics from yesterday, there was 54,828 cases coming from the state of New York, specifically in New York City. Nationally, there was 189,714 cases, so that's about 25% coming from New York City, specifically themselves, according to the statistics provided by Google.
Nice.
So I believe if it was Florida, it would have been a totally different story. If 25% of the cases came from Florida, the media would have been talking about it obsessively, but of course, they're not. But again, a lot of these people who are calling the shots are working with the politicians, are working with the corporate media. And to me, there's more about pushing an agenda, pushing a narrative than the truth. And these people are not here to serve you. And that's why it's very easy to say that anyone could do a better job than they will be, because it's obviously true. Because when you have someone who is there serving the special interests, they of course are doing everything not to your advantage. So what they're doing is deliberately trying to screw you over, and they are.
I love how Pelosi was like, we should be allowed to trade stocks. You know,
She was asked about it, yeah.
Yeah, they were like, you should block members of Congress from, buying and trading stocks. You're like, no, we're private individuals, we can do this, and it's like, oh, okay.
But
so
you're
it's like
not a private individual.
So
You're a public servant.
They know there's a vote coming up. The lobbyists come to them and say, hey, if this bill passes, bad things will happen to this company. And she goes, and then these politicians can be like, I'm going to short this company, and then vote yes. And then they make tons of money because they are in control of it. It is corruption.
How are these people so rich? Like, Biden's worth tens of millions of dollars. It's not from speaking engagements. Like, how? That's the question. You need to look at
I wonder.
You need to look at these people, and they've been in, like, he's been in off, like, I'm 41.
His whole life.
47, 48 years. Bernie Sanders didn't really have a job till he was in his 40s. He was my age when he finally got a job.
What job?
Government.
No, yeah, I'm pretty sure Bernie never had a job outside of government.
So look at it this way. They're getting the money from somewhere, and it's not the $170K a year they're getting from us. So why are they multi-millionaires? And why aren't we mad? Like, why aren't we throwing chairs? We should be throwing chairs. We should have a national throwing chairs day and just start throwing chairs. Because at this point, it's insane that nobody's mad. Why am I the only one mad at this?
I think a lot of people are just either not paying attention or they just think they're going to comply their way out of this.
Well, a lot of people believe the other side is so much worse. Picking between the lesser of two evils, people have been convinced that their side is better when in reality they're looking at absolute crap either way of the spectrum.
But
here.
look, I see it all the time on Twitter where these Democrats are like, Republicans did this or that in 2008. And I'm like, you really think Republicans today have anything in common with Republicans back then? I mean, there's people like Mitch McConnell for sure, but everybody hates him. So I think the problem is people who don't read and people who do. I should say the tribes are. You've got the uninitiated people who live in Wally World on CNN and the people who actually challenge the narrative and are reading and trying to figure out what's really going on. Thanks for checking out this segment from the Timcast IRL podcast. If you want to watch live, you can check out this channel Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. And don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, and if you want more unfiltered and uncensored content with all of these guests, go to timcast.com and become a member. All of these guests you know and love in exclusive segments on our website where we are unrestricted in what we talk about, so you'll definitely not want to miss it. Thanks for hanging out. We'll see you all next time.